Good evening. It's time for Real Talk Elgin with your host, Heather Keller of the Keller Group of KW Inspire. Heather is a leader in real estate sales and a foreclosure specialist with over 13 years experience. Real Talk Elgin is your place to get the latest information about the newest trends in real estate. Learn about the industry and ask any questions you may have for Heather. Join Heather live in Studio 14 in downtown Elgin by calling 847-931-1410. That number again is 847-931-1410. And now, Real Talk Elgin with Heather Keller.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I am your host of Real Talk, Heather Keller, licensed real estate broker with Keller Williams Inspire. I have about 14 years of experience in real estate, including short sales, traditional sales, buyers. I am here because I love Elgin and I love WRMN 1410, and I love coming on here every other Tuesday to provide real-time accurate information of all things real estate. So we are on live every other Tuesday here in downtown Elgin. This is season 2, episode 9. I know, crazy, right? So I say this all the time, and I like to because if you're out there and you're thinking about doing something, whether it's real estate or entrepreneurial, anything, you really have to go outside your comfort zone in order to succeed. And starting this radio show over a year ago was way outside my comfort zone. However, now I'm obsessed with it. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, yes, I can't wait. I'm going to go on radio. So I really like it. So I always say, go outside your comfort zone. It is well worth it. And I'm excited. I have a lot of experience in real estate, and I'm hoping that this show really helps people out there, whether you're facing foreclosure or looking to buy. I do bring on special guests every other week, so that should help. We are on Facebook. You can like us, Real Talk Elgin. We are also on iHeartRadio and Spotify. You can listen to us there. You can ask your Alexa or Google to play Real Talk Elgin, which is pretty cool. Or you can watch any of our past episodes on realtalkelgin.com. All of them are there, so please go back and listen to all of those. Later on in the show, we'll talk about how you can get a free copy of my book, The Complete Guide to Selling Your Home as a Short Sale, our upcoming shows, and 2 weeks from tonight, we have our grand opening, finally, at Keller Williams Inspire. So we'll talk more about that because I'm super excited. As you can see from all of the shows, if you listen to the past ones. Like
Keller Williams, the KW sign I've seen, how are they? They're all over the world, right? Because we've had people in the studio that have Hawaii, or I think Hawaii connections, right? Or other reps down there.
I'm friends with some of the Hawaii ones. In fact, when we were in Hawaii and over the New Year's, I sent a picture to Karen Pross. She was on the show prior. And I'm like, I think I'm going to move to Hawaii. And she connected me with the lady there. So hopefully next time when we go, I'll be able to meet. But Keller Williams is all over the country. So maybe you're listening in a different area and you're looking to buy or sell. I can connect you with someone. So that's great. So if you have any questions, please call in. Questions from tonight or previous shows, 847-931-1410. Again, that's 847-931-1410. So with all that said, let's talk about today's special guest. Adil Mohammed has been on a couple of times. I love having Adil on because we just connect really well together. We've worked on real estate transactions, specifically short sales. He specializes in foreclosure defense and fighting for the homeowners. He's here locally in Elgin, so it's great. He's a couple miles from here, up there on Larkin on Grandstand near the Jewel. So we are here to talk about foreclosure defense, what's going on with the moratoriums, and most importantly, if you are facing foreclosure or struggling, that we definitely recommend you have a game plan. So we're going to talk about all that. So Adil, I know you've been on the show again before, but welcome.
Thank you, Heather.
Let's tell the viewers again just a little bit about your background, and then we'll get started.
Sure. Thank you. It's always fun to be here today with you. I also love Elgin. I grew up here, went to school here, been practicing here for 15 years. I've been practicing total for 18. My office is on 1814 Grandstand Place in Elgin, Illinois, off of Larkin Avenue, the high school I went to. Well,
right there in the corner.
Ago. Yes, that's right.
Larkin High School, okay.
My primary areas are real estate, anything relating to real estate, including foreclosure defense, short sale work, default work, and I also do bankruptcy, which kind of goes hand in hand and can also be a strategy when you're dealing with foreclosures and defaults and such. Other than that, I've been married for 18 years, have 3 kids whose last day of school was today.
Oh, really, you're so lucky.
But, it really feels like they've been off for a year and a half, so I don't really feel a difference right now.
Your kids are remote, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we have a week left, and to try to get the kids into bed, because it's light out. So into bed,
that's the worst part.
It's hard, and then they don't want to get up in the morning, and then trying to get them to school. It's like I had to bribe them with a popsicle. Hopefully they're not listening.
My girls decided they wanted to go remote just because they didn't want to get dressed up and wake up early, and reality is going to set in next fall, hopefully, or this fall, hopefully.
Do they start in August?
Yes, August 20th, I believe.
Oh, gosh, yeah, we're August 11th. Woo, short summer. Okay.
So, but other than that, I hope I can provide some insight to everything that's going on, and, always happy to be here and provide whatever help I can.
Yeah, so again, if you have any questions, call in 847-931-1410. I'm pretty sure Adil and I can answer any question that is out there.
I hope so.
I think you were on, I checked, it was the end of February. I think it was February 23rd.
Yes.
So February, March, April. So that's been, what's today?
June 1st already.
So just over 3 months, right? So what is going on? Right now, I specialize in short sales. I do other types of real estate. I have buyers and I have a lot of traditional sales because it's a hot market. However, short sales are non-existent right now. So what has changed since you were on the show before till now regarding the moratorium?
Wow. I think when we were on last time, I think we were trying to figure out what were they going to do with the moratoriums that were set to expire March 31st.
Right.
And I think we have some of, half of that answer was that as far as the FHA moratoriums, they were extended to June 30th, which is coming up. Now, the word on the street or in this industry is that the FHA moratorium will be extended probably, if not September 30th, probably the end of the year.
Oy.
So, yeah. And I think that's the biggest, I don't know if it's a change, but I think there's still so much uncertainty from where we were February 23rd to now is I think everyone is trying to avoid what happened in 2008, 9, 10 with the flood of foreclosures and the market dropping and so forth. And doing so, I don't think they really know how to go about preventing that. FHA moratorium is in effect.
So what does that mean for FHA?
So what that means for FHA, people who have an FHA mortgage, that means that if you were already in default at the time that the pandemic started, meaning you were already in foreclosure, that means that the foreclosure action has stopped. It's not continuing. It's not moving forward.
Stalled, right?
Stalled. Yeah, much better word. Has stalled.
Okay.
As far as those people who are now in default, what that means, or for those people whose foreclosure cases did not start, what that means is their cases will not commence until the moratorium's been lifted. So again, we don't know if that date is June 30th. We don't know if September 30th, or we don't know if it's going to be the end of this year. Again, the thinking and the consensus among people in the industry is we definitely think that it's going to be an extension of some sort. We don't know whether that's going to be end of September or end of December.
So do you think they keep extending this because they are trying to figure out a plan to avoid what happened?
Absolutely. And that's why I think even with the non-FHA mortgages, why there's still been a slowdown, it's mainly because of the apprehension of the lenders and the servicers, because they don't want to initiate a process or go forward with the process and have another, rule or law or something place where it says stop, because then it just costs them more money to restart the process and maybe even not restarting it. Maybe they have to go abide by some new guidelines or some new rules that will come out to help people in this situation. And what I mean by that is around April 15th, the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which kind of regulates the banks and the mortgage industry, they had set forth a proposed rule. Now, this is just a proposal. And what that proposed rule stated was that they were going to be putting a moratorium on all foreclosures, FHA, Fannie, Freddie, all foreclosures until the end of December. Wow. And then after the moratorium has ended, they would then do what's called a 3-month review period, where all the lenders and services would then review these loans and then basically come up with some kind of streamlined modification of some sort, meaning the CFPB would give you guidelines to say, well, this person is this far behind. You can put that default at the end of the note at an interest rate no greater than this. Whatever those numbers are, we don't know. All we know is that there was a rule that was proposed, and they were looking for comments, and they were accepting comments up until May 11th. Now, I haven't seen anything else come across my way as far as any kind of progress concerning that, but Congress being Congress, I don't think anything will get done. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where I don't know when or if we'll ever get a clear guideline.
Well, it sounds like we've got this big old stack of papers, and each one has different boxes that it's going to check,
yes.
right? And so they don't have a solid way or idea how to do this inbox, this, you know what I mean, which fills it over. And I would imagine so many of them are overlapping on different levels too.
Yes.
So you probably have to have, 18 different categories in order to know exactly where it fits in the...
And I think that's part of the hesitation and the slowdown that we're seeing as far as these foreclosures moving forward and so forth, is the lenders and servicers. They don't know which way this is going to go. They don't know if they're going to be told, well, no, stop everything and now do this. So that's why there's been this hesitancy of like trying to move forward or figure out what to do next. That's why you'll see judicial sales scheduled, but then always continued. And then what we have in Illinois is we have the eviction moratorium that's in place. So a lot of servicers, especially in certain counties like Cook and Lake, and I believe Will, they were not proceeding to sale because then the point was, well, what's the point if we sell the house if we cannot kick the people who are living in there out of the house? So there was Cook County still following the state eviction guidelines. So is Will and Lake. I know DePage and King are still doing judicial sales, but they're running into that issue where, yeah, you can do the judicial sale, but then if someone sends in a COVID-19 declaration stating that due to COVID-19, they can't work and they don't have the money to find another place and they would be homeless if they were kicked out, that puts kind of a stop in that as well. So
I think it sounds like the moratorium, by having the extension on there, the main thing it does is it does exactly what you preach all the time, is that now this is giving you a stay here, so to speak, but to make a plan, right? I mean, that's what this time you should be using this time for, right?
Yeah, I mean, it just, at some point, this is all going to have to end. And I know that they want to put something in place to avoid what happened in 08 and 09. And I do hope that happens, because it was a mess back then. But we have to get back to, you know, in the state of Illinois, it goes through the courts. We have to get back to all that. Otherwise, it is going to be a hot mess, you know, and right?
And I think that's what we are so apprehensive about as far as professionals, whether it's realtors or attorneys. I think these moratoriums, the intention is great, or was great, but it also like puts people in the sense of, you know, apathy, where they think that this is going to last forever. And I tell people the check is going to come due one way or another, and it's going to come due. And when it does, and if you don't have a plan, you don't know what you're going to do, whether you're in foreclosure or you're about to go into foreclosure, or you weren't in foreclosure now or not beforehand, but now you're 4 months behind or 6 months behind, and you've exhausted your forbearance. What are you going to do now? And I think this complacency that's set in some people, that's what's going to be, you know, difficult to overcome if you don't have a plan. Because, like I said, once these all end and you get that notice saying, hey, you're 12 months behind, and you don't have a plan, or the bank doesn't have a plan for you on what they're going to do with that, then what is your next step? What
Didn't
is
we
your
bring
plan
that
B?
up once before, that a bank would just say it at any given time, listen, it's exceeded everything,
Yeah.
Well, so
time's done.
So I do a marketing piece, my team, and I've been doing it for about 8 years. Every week we send out a letter to homeowners that have an actual auction date. So they've gone through the whole entire foreclosure process. Before COVID, we would send 150, sometimes 200 letters a week. I think some weeks during the pandemic, it was 5.
Yeah.
I think this past
no
week was
action,
like
yeah.
30, and those continue to get postponed. So that's where I'm watching. Like, I keep watching that because we're just gonna. It's been a year. We're gonna have to get back to some sort of normalcy here, where either they're gonna get a loan modification or they're gonna have to do foreclosure defense or something to get back on their feet.
I think complacency is the perfect issue there. I think that's exactly right. I think that we've all just sat in lull, and part of it is probably because there's really never been an answer.
Yeah.
There's not a cut and dry. There's no black and white since this whole pandemic.
So there's no answer. Like, it's just
Right.
like and so we'll have to continue to have you back on, because right now we still don't know, right?
Yeah.
Would you thought last time you were here that we wouldn't have had an answer by now?
Yeah, I thought the end of March we would have had something, and then all it is just you're just kicking the can down the road. Like, even I was speaking to Heather before we came on. I had a conversation with one of the senior partners at one of the major firms that handles foreclosures in Illinois, and their thinking in the industry is that there's going to be a bifurcation of what can and can't not be done, which is those people who were already in default prior to COVID.
I was going to ask this. Okay.
Prior to COVID, that those foreclosures are now going to commence, and those foreclosures are now going to start. So,
but we don't know when that is.
yes, we are, again, this is just nothing official, but they're thinking it's going to be towards the end of the summer, end
Okay.
of August, and they're saying the end of August. Why? Because that's when Governor Pritzker has stated that the eviction moratorium will gradually subside.
Yeah.
Subside. So that's what they're anticipating. So those people who, like Heather said, got a stay of execution, because they were already in default prior to COVID, they just were like, lucky is not the good word, because I don't think a pandemic can ever be considered lucky, but they were fortunate that the pandemic kind of like stopped everything in place. But those type of cases, it's going to be really hard for whatever relief comes to say that it would cover those individuals, because their default started prior to COVID. And I think the banking industry would be really strongly against including and lumping those defaults into any kind of relief post-COVID.
Don't you think, first of all, you have to know, you were saying you'd only send out 5 flyers now versus 100 or whatever. So we're taking this time where normally we'd be really busy, and we're trying to do game plans and develop game plans and prepare ourselves for when that becomes the time, right?
Yeah, I'm still busy, thankfully, but what I'm trying to do right now is, as the expert, bring on people to my show, like, and Adil and I have closed short sales before, to just make sure that people have a good understanding of what's going to happen. So I just want to clarify just one more time. So if you were in default prior to COVID, the pandemic, so that would be like, February of 2020 or below,
Yep.
Before, then that your foreclosure case is going to...
If it wasn't initiated, it more than likely will be initiated, meaning that they will file the complaint in court. And if it was stalled, it would it will definitely mean that it will now move forward through the court system.
Probably at the end of summer.
That's what the speculation is, because they're trying to time it with the eviction moratorium, because the thinking is, what's the point of getting judgments and getting
Right.
people out of the home or doing judicial sales if we cannot get the people out of their home?
That
Yeah,
makes
it's not really a
sense.
standing in line kind of thing, but you would think it's going to expedite things. The person who has been riding it out, because they were meeting what you just said, they were almost up to that point where they were going to be done, and then COVID hit. So aren't they automatically at the top of the line to get the attention to it right away?
Oh,
So then people,
absolutely.
once they did it date-wise, even looking
Yeah.
at it as schedule-wise.
Oh, I had a ton of people that were planning to list for a short sale right before the pandemic, and the auctions just stopped. That's it. Nothing.
Yeah. And the same partner stated that this was a conversation way back in the winter. He said there were thousands of foreclosures that were in the pipeline prior to COVID that were going to be filed that were stopped. So those had nothing to do with COVID except for the fact that COVID came about.
Timing-wise.
Yes. But as far as COVID or causing that default, they don't fall into that category. So, and those people know who they are. They'll know that whether they were in default prior to COVID or there was a pending foreclosure during COVID. So those are people that have to be really aware of what to do next.
Can other people have a little bit of faith knowing that they're going to be hit earlier than what people who might have gone into to foreclosure during the pandemic? Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm saying that, it's like, why are you coming after me? There's people that were already waiting or already ready to be into that status. And because of COVID starting, they got this longer stay for the lack of a better word. Do you know what I mean?
I think once the case is filed, it just depends on how fast it moves through the system. And that would depend on.
There's no hierarchy
Yeah.
anywhere. It's just a matter of when it
It's,
goes.
it's
You could ha-
generally slow.
Yeah,
in
I
Illinois.
mean, but you could have someone whose case started January of 2020, but they hired an attorney to do some kind of defense for them or represent them in court, and that attorney was successful in stalling the process. And so when that restarts, they probably still will be a while from judgment, as opposed to, let's say someone had their case start February 2020. They didn't hire any attorney. They didn't do anything. And then they got a default judgment entered against them. Their case, although it started later, might wind up not resolving for them, but the bank may be able to get a judgment sooner than the case that started in January,
That's something seems
November or
terribly unfair about that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's complicated, and everything in Illinois has to go through the court. So if you're listening or you know someone that was struggling before the pandemic hit, you can still do something. Like, there's still options out there, but you can't wait the last minute. It is very, very difficult to do anything at the last minute. So we're in June. If they're talking about the end of summer, then you need to get I always say this, it's my favorite words, game plan in place.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that have already or defaulted during the pandemic, that's where they're trying to say, okay, I'm trying to come up with a loan plan or a loan mod plan, possibly.
During the pandemic or
What's the
as a
loan mod?
result of the pandemic?
The loan mod, they'll be able to stay in the home, and they'll just sometimes
It's just
put it on the
revising the
back
terms
end.
of the loan. So let's
Modification.
say, yeah,
Yeah,
modification.
modification.
It's just like if COVID caused the homeowner to lose their job, and then they had to take a 6-month forbearance or a 12-month forbearance. Whatever that amount is, $20,000, $30,000 gets put on the back end of the loan, and then basically they get to start fresh from that point forward. So it's not forgiven. It's just something that's put on the back end. So it's not something that accumulates where you have to come up with that money to cure the default.
That's
So-
where I still feel the people that took advantage of that and didn't need it, that money should be coming back into play.
And I think the first time I was here, I think that was one of the questions, and I had people calling me saying, Adil, the bank is offering a modification or forbearance, and I would ask them, do you need it? Did you lose your job?
Right.
And they said, well, no. I go, then why would you do that? I go, this is not free money. I go, this is money that will need to be paid back at some point or another.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly advise people against taking a forbearance if they had the ability to pay, because
Right.
it will come due. Whether it's at the back end or what, I mean, if you're able to pay it, because even if you got a 12-month forbearance and your mortgage was $1,500, that's $18,000 that's added to the back end of your loan.
Do you think they'll ever be able to find people who did take advantage of that? Not find people who took advantage of that and didn't need it, and then get that money back?
I don't think there's an enforcement provision. I think it was just like, if you want, you can have this. You didn't have to prove hardship.
No, you just called and asked.
Or sometimes
Yeah,
they,
I know.
the-
It
But it's
was
just,
crazy.
you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
something that was so unfair about that part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
I had an example. I was doing a short sale in Evanston. It was Governor Pritzker's old house.
There's one for the books.
I know, right? And my client had a foreclosure auction, and I asked for forbearance, and they stopped it. So that's
can do
how I
that,
was able
yeah.
to get the short sale done. Anyways, that's a whole
very
nother
smart,
story
yeah.
for a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to finish up with segment 2.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Welcome back to Real Talk Elgin with real estate expert Heather Keller. Call 847-931-1410 and Heather will be happy to answer your questions about real estate. And now back to Studio 14 in downtown Elgin for more Real Talk Elgin with Heather Keller.
Welcome back. So before we talk more with Adil, which I'm super excited about, I would like to let you know that you can get a free copy of my book, The Complete Guide to Selling Your Home as a Short Sale. So how do you get a free copy? You can go to realtalkelgin.com, and at the top right corner, you click Short Sale Booklet. It will take you to my website. You can fill out the form, and we will get you a copy. Either drop it off, mail it, whatever is best for you. If you prefer to read the book online, we do have an online version now, so you can click through and read it. I personally like to hold the book and read it, so if you do want a hard copy, we can get you that. You can email info@tkghomes.net as well for a copy, or text 224-407-2220. We have the second half of 2021 coming up. So we have just about all of our shows planned, a lot of new stuff coming up. If you have any suggestions for shows, we'd be happy to hear that. You can give us a call at 224-407-2220, or you can email us info@tkghomes.net. And now finally I get to talk about the grand opening for Keller Williams. So it is 2 weeks from tonight. We are finally opening, and we're going to be live. WRMN 1410 is going to be live. Yay! I'm doing a happy dance. At the new location, we're going to have a different time, though. It's going to be from 6 to 7 p.m. So the grand opening is from 4 to 7 at the second level of Elgin State Bank. That's the corner of Bose and Randall. So come.
How do you get in? Is it the front door, the one that's facing Randall Road that you get in?
Yes,
then
it's
you
the
go
front door. We're going to have, it's going to be a big event. Ice cream trucks coming. So it starts at 4 o'clock.
Yay.
4:30, the chamber will be there. We're going to do the live ribbon cutting. And then we're going to have food. There's going to be food on the second level. And that's going to be really yummy. We'll be there tomorrow trying to finalize all that. So come out, get some food. And then we'll have drinks as well. And then at 5:30, the ice cream truck will come. So if you like ice cream, come on out. Yummies. And then from 6 to 7, we'll be live there on the second level with Real Talk Elgin. So we're just going to be talking to the team leaders, the owners, other real estate agents, anyone that walks by and wants to be on the show. So it's going to be very exciting because this is what I've been talking about for so long.
Right.
Did I miss anything?
No, I think, no, I was just going to say, the projected audience that would be there. Anybody who's looking to sell their home, maybe even if somebody's looking to get into the field.
Yeah.
These are all people that could be attending that night. So open to the public.
There's going to be a lot of people there. All the agents from Keller Williams Inspire. The main office is in Geneva. So this is going to be like a sister office to them. We'll have attorneys there. Hopefully Adil will be there. So if you have questions about foreclosures, come on out. Plenty of attorneys, loan officers, anyone in the industry will, be out there. It's going to be a big event. We'll probably roll out
free
the red
advice.
carpet.
Definitely come out there to learn a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Educate yourself.
Yeah. So we'll be live from 6 to 7. Normally we're on from 7 to 8, but we'll be on from 6 to 7. So come join us. Come out and meet us. So that is awesome news. You can like our Facebook page, Real Talk Elgin. We'll be providing updates probably the next couple of weeks regarding the grand opening. And again, if you haven't liked our page, please do Real Talk Elgin. All right, Adil. So let's talk more about this game plan. So we talked about the moratoriums and that they basically have ended, but it's kind of stalling out, and we don't really know. So let's see. From 3 months from now is what, September?
Yes.
So we'll have to talk about you coming on again
Sure.
towards the end of the year to
Love to
kind
be
of
here.
talk about this again, because I'm curious.
Update.
Yeah, you were on February, June. Now I'll have to look at the
Sure.
openings that we have, because a lot doesn't really happen. A lot hasn't happened in the last 3 months. But I think on our last shows, I know, we always talk about, like, let's have a game plan in place. So let's talk about that. Like, once this goes away, why is it important for people to come up with a plan now versus later?
Because everything is going to cost you more later. Stress, money, time that you may need to do whatever your plan B is. So you need to figure out exactly where you are in the process right now. Are you behind, and are you one of those people that more than likely there will be a foreclosure action filed against you once this is lifted? Were you already in foreclosure and there was a case pending and now it's going to continue once it's been lifted? So if you're in either one of those categories, you need to figure out, okay, what do I want? My initial question to anyone who's in default of a home when they come to my office is, what's your game plan? What do you want to do with the home? I want to keep it. Okay, tell me, how do you want to keep it? Well, and it depends on their situation. What was the reason that caused you to go into default? Well, I lost my job. Do you have a job now? No. When do you anticipate getting a job? I don't know. Okay, so then how do you want to keep your home? I don't know. So it's like you have to kind of talk them through it. So then I tell them what I can do. Well, if you want to keep your home and you think you can eventually, afford to live in it, and you don't have a job, we can basically buy you the time through a foreclosure defense to hopefully get you enough time, stall the process until you find a job. Once you find a job, we can try to do a loan modification now that you're employed and you can show proof of income. Mm-hmm. Maybe the lender will now be willing to look at an application now that you're working, and depending on your loan, the end investor and so forth, you may or may not get some kind of loan modification that works for you. Now, if you're someone that doesn't have a job, you're so far behind, and there's no real plan B for you, then you really have to think about, okay, what is best for me? And I tell people, and quite frankly, it's not a conversation I like to have, because a home is sacred to most people. It's probably something that they worked really hard to achieve, and it's the American dream. So it's a hard conversation to have, but you have to have it. And I will tell people, you cannot afford this home. Even when they give me their game plan, I tell them it's not feasible. You cannot afford this home. It's not going to work out for whatever that reason is. And I don't do it so they hire me or anything else like that. You can go to whoever you want to go to, attorney or whatever professional you want to go to. I tell them that so because a lot of times, and we were talking about this, people have this head in the sand mentality when it comes to these issues. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to deal with them. By the time they get around to dealing with it, it may be too late. Mm-hmm. So what I try to do is try to wake them up and say, listen, the best thing for you to do right now, if you put together a game plan, is you get to control the process at least. It's much better than having your head in the sand and then getting that knock on the door from the sheriff saying you got 24 hours to vacate, getting that letter in the mail saying your property has been sold at judicial sale. You have a 30-day stay of possession. Well, stay until your possession is exhausted. So, if you plan, you can kind of control that. You can basically, whether that's through a short sale, whether it's through a foreclosure defense, you can kind of be aware of what's going on, what the timeline is, and you can plan accordingly.
I think people run from answers they don't want and ignore, like you said, their head in the sand. What if somebody doesn't know what their status is? I mean, I know that sounds funny, but I guarantee people who say, you've asked that, and they're like, you know what, I'm not even sure at this point.
They can call. I mean, so we have access. We can look that information.
So they don't have to call their bank and be all frustrated. No. They can call you, and you can look it up and check it for them. Yeah,
we can check to see if there's a foreclosure action that's been filed. We can check and see, usually the bank has to, every bank, every lender in the mortgage industry under the Illinois mortgage foreclosure law will have to send you a default notice. And that default notice is basically a 30-day notice stating that your loan has been transferred to an attorney to commence foreclosure proceedings in the next 30 days.
I think it's good to know that you guys have access. I think that's that's an important piece of information for folks who don't, I'm not going to call my bank. They already know I haven't paid my bill, and I already, you know what I mean?
They should be getting letters, but the problem is a lot of times these people
don't open. You don't open what you don't want to see.
Yeah,
don't open letters. Yeah,
it is very daunting. It's a process that. It's scary. A lot of people say, oh, my credit is so bad. If I sell, am I going to be able to find a place to rent? It is a very long process. Short sale does not mean short time frame. It takes forever sometimes to get these done. Mm-hmm. So yes, we can look up the case, and I highly suggest calling. I don't think we gave your phone number. So I highly suggest you calling Adil to sit down with him and he can go over your case with you, because I wouldn't come into play unless you're wanting to sell as a short sale, which, maybe you want to try to stall it out as long as you can and then do the short sale down the road, which we've done.
Absolutely. There's many strategies that we can use, and the best way to maximize everything is start early.
Start early.
Start early.
It's going to save you money. We can come up with a game plan.
Yes.
So you do this. Adil says, okay, this is the plan. And then maybe, a few months down the road, that's where I come into play.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I'm not going anywhere. I've been doing these short sales for 14 years. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here 6 months from now. I'll be here 6 years from now.
What is your phone number?
Yes, 847-231-3999.
And obviously, we're having some Comcast issues tonight, folks. So I'm getting this information and taking my little notes here. So I will get it up once we're back up online. So I think some of these, in my mind, when I can understand what it is, I think it's smart for people to know. I love the
Maybe
idea
an
about that
email,
one.
too. Did we get his email?
No.
Email is Adil, ADIL, at ASMLawPC.com. All our consultations are free. We don't charge for any kind of consultation, whether it takes me an hour or 3 hours to sit down with you.
And that's why you are an advocate, a foreclosure
Yes.
advocate, trying to keep people in their homes.
That's correct, yes. Have been through this myself in my childhood, so I know the trauma of losing your home, having to go through bankruptcy. So I can relate to the people, and I think people appreciate that. It's like you're coming from a background that you've been through it, so they kind of see, well, it's not that bad. And I'm like, no, it's not that bad. I mean, I've seen my parents go through it, so there is a light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to be able to navigate it correctly and get the right advice and have the right strategy in place.
To be fair, I think it helps to have compassion, though, too. I think that makes this whole horrifying nightmare just a little bit more bearable when you have somebody so passionate about it.
Well, yeah, especially when you think that the other side is just trying to take your house and they don't care. And, and I've worked with plenty of foreclosure attorneys. They're just doing their job. I mean, they're just doing their job. The only few have I ever had it out with, because they all have to, they seem to think that everyone who goes into foreclosure is some kind of deadbeat. And we have had to, have some conversations with those people that said, no, that's not how it works. Most people who will basically sink in their life savings and work aren't deadbeats. It's a situation that was out of their control that caused them to be in this position. So you have to kind of take that, you have to deal with that, in a sensitive manner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think Adil and I connect on a good level, because I love real estate, but I love helping people more. And like the deal that we just closed in Mount Prospect a couple weeks ago, they were so thankful, and it was very daunting for them at the beginning. The wife didn't know a lot what was going on, and I sat down with them and went over everything. And then they called and texted, a lot, because they always had questions. And I like when people ask questions. They're not bothering us.
Yeah.
We like to educate through the process. But they are now renting in a new home, and they're so happy. And I always tell people, yes, your credit is not the greatest, but in my 14 years of doing these short sales, we have never not been able to find a rental. You may not get your first choice, but we will find you a rental. In fact, I have a rental agent on my team who was supposed to come on in 2 weeks, but we moved him, I think, to July because of the grand opening. And
that particular couple is a great example of what can happen when you do things early and you have a plan in place. That couple, Odyssey, started with me in 2017.
Yeah, and I think you introduced us in the fall
time. The couple
time.
Started then, and it just finished now in 2020.
I sat down with them and asked them the same questions that I just said. What is your strategy? What do you want to do? And they wanted to save the house. It was a lovely house, and everything was fine. So we tried multiple strategies in that situation. We tried a 13. Well, we started with the foreclosure defense. We tried to work with the bank. They did not want to work with us. The loan mods that they were giving were just, I call them poison pill loan mods. It's just impossible to satisfy their requirements. So we filed a 13.
That's a bankruptcy?
Yes, Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which basically spread out their payments over 60 months that they were behind on. So that was going well, but then some, and they're a lovely couple. Bad things just kept happening. So something happened that basically they could no longer afford the 13 payment. So they got kicked out of 13. We dismissed the 13. Then we went back to the foreclosure defense. Again, we were trying to buy time for the situation to change to see if we could revisit the modification issue. The situation did change, but the bank's position did not. So then I asked them again, so what do you guys want to do? And I said, I have someone I work with. This is going to resolve all your problems, because if we do the short sale, this huge deficiency, I think we're approaching about $80,000 in deficiency. This huge deficiency is going to stay with you. And the only way we can wipe it out is if we either do a short sale or we keep pushing the foreclosure and then hope that, we can settle with them waiving the deficiency, which is much less likely to happen if you litigate because they want to recover their costs.
So then tell me again, and only because I'm learning too, and so hopefully our listeners are thinking the same thing. What keeps people from doing a short sale anyway, instead of going through that step to step? What becomes the negative of doing a short sale? Because you said there hasn't been a lot of them going on. What becomes the negative then?
So I don't think it's really a negative. It's just a lot of people.
Because interest and your rates, I can, people can handle if they don't have such a good credit rate. Obviously, they know they're not going to have such a good credit rate.
I think right now there's no short sales because people know that they don't have to leave their houses. So
got it.
That's why there's no.
They're not
short
denying
sales
it because they think
right
it's
now.
okay. Got it.
Short sale is a good option for people who've gone through maybe a Chapter 13 who can't make the payments, or a Chapter 7 and don't want to keep the house, or have gone through foreclosure defense and there's no other options. That's when I come into play, and Adil would still be there to help get the deal closed. But that's usually when that comes into play, and it could be right away. Or it could be like, in that case, a couple of years down the road.
It all depends on what they want from the beginning. This couple had a plan that thought they could save the house. It didn't work out, so ultimately that led them down to short sale, which was the best option for them. Some people may come in, and I may look at them and I'll say, there's just really no way to get this done. It's not feasible. A 13 isn't feasible because you don't have the money. A defense may only buy you time, and then the inevitable will happen. If you want to cut your losses soon and not have to expend attorney's fees on defending the case and so forth, then short sale may be the best option for you right away. So we just kind of look at each client's situation and figure out, well, is this something that we should do now, or is this something we should do later? The great thing about Heather, like she said, she's not going anywhere. So I can have a case from 2017 and bring Heather into the picture three years later or 3.5 years later, which is fine because this worked out for this couple. So, and that's what we can do. We can go over all the different scenarios for you to kind of see what gets you to where you want to go.
That's my very first thing on the list is, what do you want to accomplish?
Yeah.
So what is it that you expect of us? What do you want?
And I even ask that when I get calls, because sometimes I may be able to refer, someone out. Like if I can tell, like, are you ready to do the short sale now? If they're not, then, try something else to see. But some people are just like, I'm done. Like, I want to be done.
It's too much stress. I can't handle it anymore. I got to make a decision.
If they're calling Heather first, they're done.
Yeah.
They want to do it right now.
Yeah.
If they're calling me first, they kind of want to go through all their options, and only if that's all that's left for them is when they want to do the short sale. Because like I said, it is someone's home.
I kind of dig the fact that you don't BS, though. I mean, I'd rather have somebody tell me right out that sometimes that's the toughest advice you can get, but it's good.
And it's hard. And there's sometimes, the people don't want to hear it, but I'm not here to tell I'm here to tell them. They probably don't want to hear it, but that's the reality. And, we have so much experience with these particular situations. And like the couple we were just talking about, I think we listed that one in December. It was either November or December, and we just closed in May. So it took that long to get an offer, negotiate it, and then, complete it.
And that was actually pretty quick.
That was a Fannie Mae deal. So I love Fannie Mae short sales. They're not as complicated. They have their own online system. So I really like them. Yeah. But, you never know. I'll take on anything because I just want to help someone.
I think it's a benefit, too, that you always seem to be surrounding yourself. This is Real Talk. For people who don't know what they might be tuning into, it's Real Talk with Heather Keller, that you team up with a good team.
Yeah.
Then you have this recommendation, this kind of good core. So no matter where somebody's at in that process, they can either be directed or start answering, you can start answering right away.
Yeah, I think the last thing people want to hear is just being told what to do without being given an explanation as to why or alternative choices if they exist. I mean, we have plenty of those attorneys all over where if they just see someone in default, the first thing they're thinking is, let's do a short sale because that's how I make money.
That's what you were saying
It's
before, right?
easy,
You don't like this, yeah.
and so forth. So, and I've had plenty of clients have come into my office after visiting those type of people and say, well, this is what they're saying that I can do, and that's all. And I said, well, I see it a little bit differently, and I think we can do X, Y, and Z, and ultimately, if we still need to do that, we can do a short sale, we can do a foreclosure defense or something. So people want options, they want choices, and they want to be able to make a sound, informed decision. And I think that's what we try to give to people.
I like that you have look at your options. Just
Yeah,
because one person might tell you something, don't think that that's the end all.
Yeah, and make sure, like, Google's your friend. You want to make sure who is on your team, that they actually know what they're doing. You don't want to just hire your friend if you have a real estate agent that is a friend, then don't hire them if they're not an expert, or an attorney who does something else besides real estate or foreclosures or short sales. That is not a good idea. You also can't hire family because it's illegal.
We've run into that situation. Yes.
Yeah, so
It should be illegal though. Yeah, I
let's
don't want
just
to mess with
say,
that.
Leah, I was related to you, and you were facing foreclosure. I couldn't even list the house. You can't do that. It has to be an arm's length transaction.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's a good rule to have though.
Yeah, and it just avoids trouble in the long run. So absolutely.
And I don't want to take on the people that aren't ready to do a short sale either. Like I want to make sure that they're on board, because it is a process, and I'm there to hold their hand through the whole step. But you have to be ready to move. But I do prefer that people stay in the house, and I will give them a heads up, like the couple that we just closed. I said, okay, I know the short sale is going to be approved. We have to find a house. Here's your deadline. And then my rental agent came on board. So I rather, if they want to try something else, go to Adil and figure out what that plan is before we start the short sale.
And again, that phone number is 847-231-3999.
That's correct.
All righty. All right, you got a couple minutes left. So you want to throw out some information?
Yeah, so we gave all Adil. Thank you, Adil, for coming
absolutely.
on again. I'm going to look at the calendar. Hopefully we'll have you on again in the fall.
Love to be here, yes.
Yes, and plus you're in Elgin. So
Right here.
We all live in Elgin.
Yes.
We work in Elgin.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks from tonight, we have the grand opening at Keller Williams Inspire in Elgin. It's the second level of Elgin State Bank. The address is 1001 South Randall Road. It is on the other side of the road compared to Portillo's. So we are going to have a red carpet event. It's going to be big. There'll be balloons and food. 4:30 p.m., we are doing the ribbon cutting ceremony with Elgin Chamber. And then we're going to have food there and drinks, and the ice cream trucks come in at 5:30. And my show will be live there from 6 to 7. So if you're looking to sell or buy, or maybe you're struggling to make those payments, or you want to have that game plan in place, please come out and visit us. Some of my team members, Adil, hopefully will be out there. And what else? 6 to 7 p.m.
If you want to see how the show takes place,
Yeah.
it is kind of a fun little gig to see how it rolls with the camera here, and Michael's going to be out there.
Yes,
and,
my
have
awesome
lots
marketing guy, Michael, he is going to be out there. So we'll get all of it. You'll be able to listen to the show afterwards. But I would love for anyone who wants to come see it live to come out there, especially
Will you
if
have
you're-
some of your books available there?
Yes, I'll have my books. That's a good idea. I didn't even think of that. And if you're looking to become a real estate agent, come on out. We'll probably interview Eric Klein has been on here. Our managing broker, Carrie, and Karen Prawl has also been on. So it's going to be a very, very fun, exciting night. And I cannot wait, because it has been a year plus talking about this. So please come and visit us 2 weeks from tonight, live at Keller Williams Inspire Elgin, corner of Bose and Randall, Elgin State Bank. And we'll see you there, 6 p.m.
Down.
Yay!